Nippon Ichi Software is most known for their work on the Disgaea franchise. This is most of the time what people know them for, as it is their biggest franchise. They have had other releases such as The Witch and the Hundred Knight and its sequel, but not many of their games seem to make it out of Japan, especially their visual novels. One such game that did, though, was Poison Control, a brand new IP, and if you've ever wondered what it would be like to have Splatoon and RPG elements mixed together, well, Poison Control's as close to that as you're going to get. I'm looking forward to being able to review this game, as it's something very different than we usually check out on the channel, and really kind of my first step into reviewing things that are a bit more niche or obscure. So I'm looking forward to being able to do this. NIS America was kind enough to send me over a review code for the game as well, so thank you for that. We will be taking a look at the PlayStation 4 version. It is also available on the Nintendo Switch. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's review Poison Control. Poison Control story really isn't anything special. If you're looking for a Japanese RPG with a profound level of storytelling, you're not going to find it here. I would compare Poison Control story to an early 3D platformer or a 3D collectathon, where the story's more or less just there to give your character a reason to exist in this world and explore what's going on. It's because of this that the characters also come off as very generic, something you'd expect to see in a typical Japanese anime. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're, again, not going to find in-depth, profound, very well thought out characters. There are some good interactions between the characters and some funny moments that I did enjoy, but that's about all the game with a story has to offer. You play as an unnamed protagonist whom you can choose as male or female, and you get to name them. You also play as a creature known as Poisonette. This is the name she decided to take as she has no recollection of her prior memory and can't remember her name. Our protagonist is attacked by a creature known as a klesha. Poisonette attaches herself to us. The kick is, when she is in full body form, we are reduced to nothing but a pile of bones as she uses our body. This plays into the gameplay, so we'll talk more about this mechanic later on. Hell has been tainted with a toxin from the real world, creating small little domains which need purging. Each of these is represented by a single mission, and upon clearing them, you'll receive a silver sticker. 5 silver stickers are needed to get 1 gold sticker, and 5 gold stickers are needed to get to heaven, so your Poisonette can make a wish once you and her reach heaven. Your main character also has no recollection of how they died. Through the bonds you make with Poisonette, you'll be able to uncover the truth behind your death as you progress through the story. Poison Control takes some similar ideas from Persona 4 and 5's dungeons and ideas of theming. I hate using the comparison for Persona because it's become a bit of a meme around the hardcore Japanese audience to explain anything similar to Persona's mechanics or ideas, even though the game wasn't the first to come out and do it. It's become that it's the Dark Souls comparison for every game people think is difficult. Anyways, each area is set up to reflect someone's regrets, entering their own personal hell. One of the very first missions you go on has you sorting through a memory of a young girl who died before she and her friend were able to finish making a picture book together. She is upset she never got to finish it because her friend was battling a terminal illness, and she was attacked the night she was going to go over and show her friend the finished product. The problem is these get no build up or moments to reflect on what's going on, simply interacting with a glowing light and it triggers the memory through nothing but a text box. I'm unsure if the developers intended it to come off as this vague, but these moments feel like they're supposed to invoke some emotional response in you, but fail to have the impact the developers seem to want it to have. Because of these moments, I don't ever feel it has time to build up or give you any emotional attachment to these characters whatsoever. Despite some of the complaints I did have with the story, the game's ending did tie everything together in a nice bow and kind of brought all these ongoing mysteries that are first introduced within the game's plot into into perspective. However, these scenarios are not afraid to shy away from tackling some very heavy subject matter. Each mission you'll be tasked with purging a Bell's hell. These include a girl with a desire to burn down her entire school. Others feel like they are quite a stretch to believe. There is a girl contemplating killing her mother to bring back her dead dog after her mother tells her once heaven is filled up with souls, people come back from heaven. Despite some complaints I have about the lack of focus on these small scenarios and how some of them feel like a stretch, I enjoy the thought that went into them at the same time, but some are definitely more enjoyable than others. Let's talk a little bit about its characters. Your protagonist is an avatar of you, a representation of you inside the world, but at certain times you will be given dialogue options to choose from. These are directly related to how you increase your stats. We will talk more about this in the gameplay section. Poisonette is not the most exciting character, but comes off as an innocent girl with a curious side. You have radio hosts introducing each mission with a brief breakdown of what's causing the Klesha to manifest, and a rival girl and her Poisonette named Blanc. There isn't much to these characters, and while they're definitely one-dimensional, it feels like they were designed this way by choice. If you're expecting a game with a deep, engrossing cast of characters, you're not going to find it here, but there is some fun to definitely be had. The game also has an infatuation with breasts, the shopkeeper you visit early on in the game with a big pair of breasts. The length it goes to insert its joke about them is both hilarious and cringy. Personally, I enjoy humor like this in Japanese games, but it's going to depend on how much enjoyment you get from these jokes. Poison Control's gameplay is a mixed bag. On one hand, I enjoyed my time with it and had loads of fun just mindlessly shooting things, but on the other hand, it suffers from being far too repetitive and formulaic. The mission structure mentioned earlier makes the game feel far too repetitive. You'll purge a Bell's Hell, watch a few story events unfold, and then jump right back into purging the next area. There isn't a whole lot to break up this structure. Let's talk about its combat. The protagonist shoots out projectiles from his arm, which has been transformed into a gun. You'll have two different types of ammo, a special ammo called a Deliriant, which will have a set amount of bullets. Once they are gone, you will need to replenish your supplies through either collecting them in chests or soaking up miasma. Deliriants are ammunition used by Klesha, and these are found by defeating them or opening chests. Normal bullets recharge and cool down, so you'll be able to instantly reuse them once they have been recharged. These are called poisons. Poisons are acquired by opening 3 yellow chests in each hell. Doing this will allow you to possibly find ammunition this way. You'll also be able to get antidotes, which function as armor, and catalysts, which kind of function the same way, but give you added benefits, such as more HP or giving you more items and gold. By firing bullets at the enemy, you will be able to break them. Once this happens, you will stun the enemy, allowing you to unleash an onslaught of bullets hurling towards your enemy. You'll also start out with 2 normal ammo slots, but will be able to increase this amount by leveling up certain stats. However, firing your weapons at enemies is not the only way you'll be able to damage them. In each dungeon, there is a giant puddle of goop known as miasma, which attract the enemies. Poisonette is able to run across this while using your body and leaving you a vulnerable pile of bones. If the enemy is standing on the goop that you've touched, it will damage them and quite often breaking them in the process. It is up to you to use this to your advantage, whether you down an enemy and use this as a chance to turn the miasma around them, damaging them in the process. If you get Poisonette to return to the pile of bones before her meter runs out, you will not only absorb what you've highlighted, but what you've circled around. This can be used to hit multiple enemies and encase them in a circle. You'll also be able to restore HP this way. Defeating enemies will also give you coins, which are used to upgrade your armor and weapons. Sometimes you will get a token with HP symbol restoring your HP. There are some complaints I do have about the combat, particularly how many enemies can sometimes appear on the screen. The game isn't hard by any stretch of the means, but sometimes it's far too easy to get cornered and slaughtered by enemies. This was 90% of my deaths during the game. Also, sucking up miasma doesn't always work the way you had hoped it would. I stated earlier, switching to Poisonette and sucking up miasma puts you in a vulnerable state, meaning if you get hit or she gets hit, your run is over. You'll be able to eventually get a skill allowing you to continue your run without it being interrupted, but you'll still take damage. This can be annoying when you're trying to restore HP or fill up butterflies for recovery. The concepts of this game are a really cool idea, and I feel like a sequel could fix some of these complaints and quirks, making a very solid next experience. Before each mission, you will have a chance to change your loadout. By changing out your loadout, you will be able to choose your weapons, antidotes, and catalysts you want to equip. In the loadout menu, you will also be able to use money in order to upgrade your equipment, being able to rank them up to level 5. During certain sections of the game, you will have an interaction with Poisonette, allowing you to increase your stats by choosing a specific answer. While this is a unique way to level it up, it makes it hard to play out how your character interacts, coming off as a kind and compassionate character at one moment and then a complete ass the next. Each fight within a dungeon has a clear condition. Sometimes you may have to clear a percentage of the goop, take down many klesha, and doing so you will meet the clear conditions and end the fight. Each mission also has a setup on the same premise. Sometimes the conditions to complete the mission will be met by collecting all the characters related items or talking to all of the memories, or sometimes just getting a certain item. Once you do this, you automatically clear the mission and go back to the world map. This brings me to another complaint. If you haven't found everything within the dungeon, you are automatically teleported out, meaning if you haven't explored everything or opened up every chest, you'll need to repeat the same mission over again. This could have easily been fixed by just giving you the option to hit a button saying you want to go back, or once you've completed the level, even putting it in the start menu so your character still has that option to explore. Once you do get an item though for a new poison, it does stay collected, so you can just beeline towards the next chest you need and skip the other ones during your next visit. Alright, I've ripped on this game quite a bit, but like I said, I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect by any stretch, but some of the hells were very interesting to experience. The theming was hit and miss, while the environments looked the same for what was clearly budgetary reasons and give hell a consistent look. Some of these hells put scenery in them to make them feel unique. There was some details put in that I really appreciated, especially for a budget game. I applaud the developers for getting creative and making their engine and budgets work. The soundtrack was really good. Not every song was a runaway success, but it gave me a heavy Danganronpa vibe and managed to hit some of these emotional sounding music when it needed to. One major complaint I have about this game was the lag and heavy slowdown. I was playing this on a base PS4, so I can't say how it runs on a Pro, Switch, or PS5. If you guys didn't have any problems with these consoles, let me know down in the comment section. But the further I got in, the more the game seemed to slow down. This actually made the final dungeon a royal pain to get through. There were times the game would outright freeze for a few seconds before allowing me to move. If I had to guess what caused this, it was the amount of enemies on the screen. Running and collecting miasma or just trying to take down a target were made increasingly more frustrating than they needed to be. This caused me to die not once, not twice, but 3 blasted times during the final dungeon. This became increasingly frustrating, made by the fact that once you fail a mission, you go back to the world map and have to start again. Checkpoints would have been a really nice thing to have, especially in some of those longer dungeons. So in closing, Poison Control was a game with some unique ideas that may have not been executed within the best ways, but given a sequel or a spiritual successor, I feel like Nippon Ichi could improve upon these ideas, refine them, and make a unique game, fleshing out the world, story, and the characters, allowing it to focus more on a certain set of characters rather than a whole bunch could go a long way. The soundtrack was great and the gameplay was fun yet flawed. Poison Control is a game I don't regret playing. I had my fun with it, and I think there was enough there for someone who genuinely enjoys quirky Japanese games. This is flowing with this type of Japanese humor, so if you love that Japanese humor, you're going to get a chuckle out of quite a few things. The pacing and repetitive nature of the game makes me not not able to give it my Gaming with Spoons seal of approval, but if you're curious, I also won't tell you not to play it, but I wouldn't blame you if you decided to wait for a sale either. That is going to do it for our Poison Control review. If you've made it this far into the video and watched it through its entirety, thank you so much. If you found the review helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and out on social media, as it does help the channel. You guys have been watching Gaming with Spoons, and until the next review, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoons is checking out.